Page 2.
Big night.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Told me that his girls in her home is they don't know who the Blues Brothers are. Now, I know that's not true. You've seen the reruns. I saw the original after they retired.
Don't mind standing, we'll have our pledge of allegiance followed by prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Father God, we just come before you to say thank you for loving us. We love you. We just thank you for your grace, your blessings you just give us without us even knowing, Lord. We just lift up this meeting tonight to you. Thank you for your presence. We just pray you fill us with your spirit to guide us, direct us. We also pray for the tornado victims and their families, and just pray that you just bring comfort in the weeks and months that we know that's in front of them, Lord. We just pray that tonight you guide us, and Lord, we just thank you for blessing Wylie and the staff and administration. We just thank you for their investment in our kids. And we love you. We pray today that you're just glorified. And all we say in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for being here this evening. Desiree, you got the roll. Everybody accounted for and present. So,
I'm going to give you a list. I forgot that.
okay. So, we are at this time going to open it up for anybody who would like to say anything during an open forum. We ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Understand that it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it, but if there's anybody who would like to address the board, you may do that now. I look like I have Benny Mauser. I kind of know you, don't I?
Come on up.
Please come up. Yeah.
Okay. I'm here to offer you a personal invitation. The Taylor County Republican Party, we're trying to get people here in Abilene to make the community aware of what they do and what they stand for, and give you the opportunity to ask questions. So, because Wylie has a tremendous agricultural department and has won all kinds Public Library. Parking's good, it's easy to get to. And then Jay Johnson is coming. He is our Region 15 State Board of Education representative, and he's coming January the 11th. So I'm here early just so that you can put this on your agenda and also invite your friends. It's amazing to me how many people don't know what the State Board of Education is. They don't know what they do. They don't know anything about it. And so if parents knew about this, they might have some questions. And I know that just this last meeting, they talked about the health program, matching the teats and all of that. There may be some questions, but this is just an opportunity for you and the administration, teachers, and parents to get to meet these people. Thank you, and I'm so proud to be a Wylie.
He's been one for a long time, too.
Yeah, but yours kind of.
Ben, you don't have to stay. You're welcome to stay.
No, I will.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benny. So I have no one else on the list that wants to address the board, is that correct? Anyone else? Judd?
You probably know why I'm here. I just want to say thanks for putting the tennis court, softball, and baseball lights on the agenda. The only question I have or comment really is just, let's make sure we're doing this right. You know, like 20 years ago, you turn on a light at a stadium and you had to wait 20 minutes for it to come on, right? There are still stadiums that have that. So I would just say, I don't know what the proposals are. I saw the 3 different prices and the names, did a lot of research on them. Actually, the cheapest one has done a lot of tennis facilities, which is great. But instant on LED lights are kind of the norm now. If you've ever watched a University of Alabama football game, they don't show it a lot, but if you Google it, you can see it. Timeouts, halftime, anything. They do crazy things with their lights. We don't need that, right? But we definitely don't need the 20-minute turn-on lights. So instant on LED lights, I hope that's what we're paying for. I think that's what we need. That's kind of where we're going in the future with all stadium lights. So I hope you all will vote for it. And hopefully we can get some answers around what kind of lights we're going to be installing once it's approved. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please state your name, if you don't mind.
Tim Barrett. Thank you for having us. Really like the board members. Thanks for having us here today and speak on behalf of the lights here at the school. A couple sides of it. My daughter is Reese Fair. She's a junior here at the school, and growing up as a young child, you know, we worked on softball for the longest time ever in the backyard. And this girl's dream was always to be coming to the high school and playing at that level. And as a freshman, she was on JV team, and so we were all excited about coming and watching her play, only to get 10 minutes of playing in. So it's just really disappointing for her to see the disappointment not being able to get to play at that level. So now that she's on varsity, seeing all the girls that are coming from behind her having that same experience and the disappointment, we really just want to cultivate that sportsmanship in all of our girls to be able to come and compete in any other districts that are coming into our school, playing on our home turf, to have the opportunity to play and not get 10-15 minutes for 2.5 hours of travel. So my wife and I, we're going to do everything we can to make it a priority to get lights in the field before my daughter graduates. Who do I need to talk to, right? So we're looking to make that a reality, and I hope tonight we all can make that a reality for us. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Moving on. We have some people to honor. The FFA broadcasting team. I assume that is the end of the act.
Cody Smith is our ag supervisor, and I want him to come up and talk just a little bit about what FFA broadcasting is and what it took to accomplish second place at the state level. So, Mr. Smith.
Well, thanks for having us here. We truly appreciate it. I know the kids were excited when I told them that we had to come to a school board meeting, and they were a little bit, what is that? And so it's good for them to be here and understand this side of, you know, what y'all do for our school. And, but as far as broadcasting, during the spring semester, our ag department is always participating in LDEs or leadership development events. Some of you that may have been in ag maybe back in the day may still remember that. There's all sorts of events. There's about 17, 18 events that kids participate in. These four, there's actually 3 that compete on the team, and Tanner was not at state with us. Tanner was on the team for district and area, but Tanner was had to go to San Diego. His brother was graduating from the Marine Corps, and he had made a commitment to that. Told me before we ever started practicing this year, I told him, hey, you know, you've got to do what you got to do. Family comes first, and so we'll address that when he gets here. And sure enough, it happened. We advanced out of district and area. And by the time we got out of area, which is right there during the Thanksgiving break, we had to scramble and come up with our alternate. And Josie Stevens, Josie raised your hand, she had been kind of an alternate on the team, so she got in those last 5 days, 3 days really, before we left to go to state contest and got in and did a phenomenal job. And but it's the kids give a 6 to 8 minute presentation over just a radio system. The judges don't see them. They're in a room, separate room, listening to them. It's basically like a podcast, but it has to be over a current agricultural topic. And our topic that we've been working on for the last 5 years, we just keep tweaking on it and making it better. It's just the aging of the American farmer. And because it's a huge issue where we're at today. And so we've worked on that script. We'll take the top 2 out of area to go to state. There's 12 areas in our state. And so there's 24 teams competing for that title when we get down there. They have 2 semifinals, or 2 heats. And so we were second at area, and the team that beat us at state was the team that beat us at area. And which it was good to see that our area really kind of swept the radio contest, but we're excited. Josie's a senior this year, so she will not be back, but Tanner, Cole Killian, and Macy Woolsey, all sophomores, will be back next year, so we're excited to go back next year and bring home a bachelor state title. So,
Mr. Wylie might have a vested interest in this group too. Y'all may know. Yeah, come on.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
I think before they get too far away, Mr. Smith's going to do a couple other things real quickly.
this was back, I guess, in 2020. So it was back during our COVID year when everything was kind of shut down, and during that year, our state convention was a virtual convention that was new for all of us. But anyway, Mr. Bessent was actually recognized at our state convention virtually for the state honorary Lone Star degree. That degree is given out to school board members, administrators, business leaders, key leaders in the community that go above and beyond and support our chapter and chapters across the state. Our chapter wanted to recognize him and nominate him for that degree. And so anyway, Mr. Bessent.
Well deserved.
These I've had a little bit longer. We got these in right when COVID was starting to hit too. This is to the school board. This was the last trailer that we had purchased. School had paid for a big chunk of that trailer, and then we've got some donations from community business leaders in the community as well. but we want to present that to y'all. We've been meaning to get this to you, and it's a crazy hectic time as far as just the last few years has been. But this is our appreciation for y'all, for everything that you do for our ag department, and not just our ag department, for the whole school. It's an honor to work here at Wylie. It truly is. I know I had quit for a couple of years, and but I have made a wrong decision very quick. And, I told Mr. Smith is here. Where's he at? I called him about a few months later after I quit and told him, said, I want my job back. I truly miss it. So, but anyway, thank you for all that y'all do, and that is for y'all. So, one for Mr. Lott as well. Sir. Thank you all, and like I said, we appreciate everything that y'all do for our ag department, and it has just become truly awesome. I know when I started here, there was 2 of us, myself and Mr. Moore, and now we have 4 ag teachers, and I truly appreciate what y'all do for us. So,
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Love to celebrate Wylie. That's great. So, should have received the minutes from last meeting. There are no corrections or questions. Those will be approved as written. And Carol, I think you're up.
The bills for your approval begin on page 7 of your packet. A lot of officials get paid. Basketball's a busy time, so we've got that. We've got volleyball going on. There's a lot of page 8, the top data does a lot of wiring for us, and so they're working on the East Intermediate campus. Dutton Construction has brought some stuff in for us. Just wanted to mention Education Galaxy 8500. That's one of the things that we are using some of our ESSER funds on to keep students up to date with math and reading programs. Further down, infection controls, $20,000. That's our germ blast company. They came out at Thanksgiving, treated all of our campuses.
How often do they do that again?
3 times. I really need 4 now.
These first pages are just, a lot to do with officials and travel. When you get over to page 10, you'll see what looks like a repeating number. House Bill 3 gave us the ability to reimburse students for taking the ACT and SAT test. And so we do that once a year. This is the list of, I think there's 158 names of students that we're reimbursing for SAT and ACT test.
Carol, just checking, that Westigo Fuels, that's not a typo, right?
But where are we at there?
No. Above the,
No, that's a weekly fuel charge for our buses.
okay.
So there are 2 of them there. The supplemental list will have another one from the next week, so.
We call out, try to get at least 3 bids if we can on the right price. So far, that, that it is what it is.
Okay.
That's delivered cost.
So if you'll over on to page 14, are a lot of our regular monthly charges. HA Enterprises does a lot of our bus repairs. There were 17 invoices with that $9,190. Restaurant, we bought a lot of kitchen supplies to get us to our new intermediate school, $3,684. I did want to mention the Education Service Center, $33,981. That is 2 months of our annual contract. We somehow slipped up, they didn't send us October and November bills for that. So
Yes,
that's
sir.
2 months.
Can you, and I know you may not have it right now, but can you send it to us or document it somewhere where we are with the budget outside of,
Sure.
like, how,
On
like,
construction.
on construction, I'm sorry, like, you read my mind.
Yep,
I was gonna-
Yeah, sorry, on construction, where we are outside of that.
sure.
We do have an Wylie invoice there for our audit fee of $16,685. And on page 15, the Kibler Construction, phase 1 and phase 2 charges, $871,000, $494,000. It looked like our Labatt charges of $120,000 might be down just a little bit from last month, so yay for that. With us being out a week of school. Page 16 has got our electric bill of $50,541. And then the supplemental bills begin on page 17. Central Appraisal District have a quarterly fee they put down for their administration, $72,000. And then our OTPT cost with contract with Hendrick Medical Center, and that's $11,000.
Kirk, I have a question back on the electric bill. Is that the net after paying out the impact?
No, that is just that's just utility account. That is a totally separate part of that. So the ideal impact is above the monthly.
Spectrum Corporation, $10,523. We did get 2 new scoreboards for the gyms at the high school, auxiliary gyms. You can see on page 18, there is another fuel charge of $8,084. So we started putting the dates in there because, you know, it seems like they come through the autumn and they really do that up. Are there any other questions regarding the bills as they're presented? Next page is the cash balance in all of our accounts. The end of November, $11,668,000. We had started, you know, and a lot of people, when they get their tax bill, began paying them in October and November, so we got some pretty good deposits in that. Page 20 is our expense report. And I did go back and calculate the expense totals. If I took out the construction cost, you can see that's a line that's over. Without the construction cost line 81, the overall total is 24.83%, just for your information. Page 21 is the revenue report. Did want to mention, you know, in 5745 insurance recovery is just kind of one of those placeholders. We never know if we're going to use that or not. And we did have a small insurance check come in for one of the buses this year. And the 5751 food service, you know, we're real unsure about how that was gonna play out. We're getting between $3,000 and $4,000 a day deposited for lunch accounts for people paying above and beyond just regular plate lunches. So that's above what we expected. We didn't really expect that.
I might say that that was really unexpected. We thought we would generate a lot less revenue, but we've had quite a few folks say they wanted to purchase a la carte items,
Right.
so.
An extra slice of pizza or
Fruit roll-ups.
Buy stock and fruit roll-ups, okay.
And we had adjusted, you know, the 5921 and 5922 for the National School Lunch Program. We were unsure where that was, and that has really taken off. And we're feeding a lot of kids lunches and breakfast, so that has really taken off for us.
While we're talking about school lunch and breakfast, just, we occasionally have, we've had several audits over the years of our school lunch program, just kind of, it's not yearly by any stretch of the imagination, but of all years for them to pick, when we have all this, we are being audited in February. And so those ladies are on pins and needles right now, trying to be sure everything's in order. It's just a different year because we're doing things differently. So they're doing a great job, but they are anxious, would you say? So again, that's Christy Lindbergh and her crew doing a really good job. So
And that's the Texas Department of Agriculture.
that's right.
And just to mention the 5811, 5812 line, the foundation funds, we've received 50% of our funds. We will not be getting any more until April of the foundation. So that's just how they work it out for sending out the money.
Any other questions? What do you want to do?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Got a motion and a second, Desiree. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Charlotte. Moving on up.
You know, we've been waiting for a medal to come in for months and months and months. Finally started trickling in over the last couple of weeks. They should finish up all the exterior metals this week. That'll be complete. On the interiors, we're at that 99.9% complete. Actually, we're punching out the space right now. The architects doing their walkthrough. They'll probably do that for a couple of days and finish that up. At the same time, we're doing our final cleaning, getting it all clean. They actually started bringing in furniture today. So by Wednesday, the masses will be there and moving in. And with the city, we got an okay from the city to go ahead and move in. We have a couple of items with planning and zoning that they need to inspect, but we got an okay from the city and the fire marshal. We finally got our floor covering in last Wednesday, about 20,000 feet. Crews worked 12 hours a day straight through and finished it up today. So that's all completed too. Your kitchen is ready to go, and the rest is good too, so.
Did it end up being the same, or did y'all have to find something different for that area?
No, use the same tile that you
We
used.
used the same tile. Yeah, what happened was, we got bumped on our fabrication day, and they moved us back about 3 weeks. And that's how we ended up with a late delivery there, and there was nothing we could do about it, so. Anyway, we got the same material, didn't have to change any of the patterns. We played around with that for a little while, but somehow that came through. So.
And I might say, you know, getting folks to work like that over a weekend, they were working Sunday afternoon. I went over there and, they were almost through, Sunday evening. They didn't have much more to do today.
Yeah, that would average about 5,000 square feet a day, so that's a couple of houses. It's a lease thing.
Well, we appreciate them doing it too.
But anyway, I'm sure this will be the last time I report to the community here. I think you all know that it's not my favorite thing to do. But anyway, it's probably my last time. And I just want to thank the community for all the help. I was well received here. I've been here for 6 years. Wish you had another one right behind it. But I'll be thankful for that.
You've done a fantastic job. Thank you, Charlie.
I'm not, Charlie, before you leave, I do want to say from the administrative standpoint, Charlie in particular makes it easy for us, and he's very anticipatory in his leadership over there. He's always looking down the road, trying to make sure things are coming in when they need to come in. And Charlie didn't talk about this a lot, but every one of the jobs that Charlie has done for us have been with a pretty short time frame and not much leeway at the end. And he's come through with flying colors, everyone, and on every one of those jobs. And I will say he's built quite a reputation around Abilene as a can get it done guy. So, Charlie, we appreciate what you do for Kibler Construction and all the things that they do as well. So,
It's great.
we appreciate you.
All right, we're going to move up our representative, Bailey. I think you're new here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Joey Elmore. I'm one of the guys who got to do the Wylie ISD audit this year along with Bailey. Thank y'all for having us out. We really appreciate getting to come out every year and work with you all. Before I go, I'll go through a little bit of the audit report that's sitting in front of you. I will say before we get started, a lot of work goes into a report like this, and a lot of the credit, most of the credit for that goes to Carol and her team and everybody who handles all the financial stuff for Wylie. Y'all have a great team out there, and we enjoy working with them. They're on my short list of favorite clients.
They really like my jokes, right?
Well, I mean, that's the primary. So I'll take a high-level look at some of the audit results here and then go into some detail on it. The audit went really well. With an audit, you are always keeping an eye out for material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and you all did not have any of those in any of the financial reporting. So that's always good news. No findings is good news. I'll start with the auditor's report on page 2 of the packet there. There's a couple of things that I'll point out. Management's, we divided into management's responsibility and the auditor's responsibility, and just kind of as a reminder, management is the ones coming out here and creating these financial statements, preparing and presenting them in an appropriate way according to generally accepted accounting principles, and then they're also responsible for the system of internal controls that goes into that financial information. And then we as the auditors come out and we are looking at did they do their job in preparing these financial statements in line with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States? And the answer on this one, definitely, the opinion on page 3 up at the very top there is what we like to call a clean or an unmodified opinion. Basically, it just means there were no material misstatements, no significant deficiencies. In all material respects, these financial statements were correct as they were supposed to be. And so that's the main report that we issue. There's a couple other reports that I'll go over in a little bit, but first I'm going to give an overview of the financial statements as a whole. Just turn to page 14. That's going to be the district's statement of net position. At August 31st, you all do basically a snapshot of assets, liabilities, and net position for the district, everything going on at the district. And at August 31st, before I go into that, it's presented on what's called the accrual basis of accounting. You'll see a number of different statements in the financial statements, and this one is notable because it includes your long-term debt, your bonds, your pension liability, your OPEB liability, and it also includes all the capital assets. So your buildings, your equipment, your land, all of those are going to go on this schedule right here. kind of the big picture, you had $122.8 million in total assets this year, which is about a $3.5 million increase over the prior year. The majority of that is going to be your fixed asset balances. It makes up about 87% of that total. It's $107 million, so that's where a lot of the district's funding is tied up right now. That increased about $4.4 million over last year with ongoing construction. Cash is also pretty high for the district. It's at about $12.4 million, which went down about $2.2 million from last year, which is normal when you're in a construction season, so makes sense. Total liabilities is about $74.5 million, and that went down by about $4.9 million from last year. A lot of that can be attributed to a decrease in what you'll see is the net OPEB liability on there. There were some, that particular item right there is based on actuarial valuation that TRS contracts with several other organizations to provide. And the district has to report that under generally accepted accounting standards, but that actuarial valuation decreased a little bit this year, so the liability decreased, which is nice. Net position is the amount that the assets exceed the liability, and so down there at the very bottom of the page, you'll see the $46.3 million this year, which is about a $5 million increase over the prior year. Now, if we switch over to page 16, this is going to be the balance sheet for the governmental funds. This one's a little bit different. It's presented on the modified accrual basis of accounting, and basically all that means is it focuses on the current assets. So you're not dealing with your long-term liabilities or your capital assets. This is just going to be your current assets on here. And there are separate columns on there for your major funds, which are ones that we kind of tested individually. But I'll focus on the total governmental funds because it gives a good picture of the current assets. Total assets are about $16.3 million for the year, which is comparable to last year. Cash is the largest asset category here as well, with $12.4 million. And there's a decrease of about $2.2 million in cash, and that's kind of offset by an increase in your receivables from other governments. And what that basically has to do with is a timing of when the district requests reimbursement for their various grant programs. So in any given year, that can fluctuate just based on whether it's put in early or later in the fiscal year, because they'll reimburse after they receive the reimbursement request. Your total liabilities are about $4.7 million, which is an increase of $1.9 million from last year. And that's driven by an increase in accounts payable, just again, the timing of when the bills came through. So there was several things that had been yet paid as of year-end. Fund balance is the amount that the assets is going to exceed the liabilities, and that's about $11.4 million for this year, which is a decrease of $3 million from last year. The fund balance is going to be divided into non-spendable, restricted fund balance, committed fund balance, assigned fund balance, and unassigned fund balance, and each of those have specific requirements as to what goes in there. But your unassigned fund balance, I'll draw your attention to, is at $9.7 million as of the end of the year. TEA likes to point out this metric of a healthy fund balance, which is basically having 2 to 3 months of expenses, of general fund expenses in your unassigned fund balance. And right now you guys are sitting at about 3.3 months of expenses in that fund balance right there. So y'all are doing really well on that. We'll flip over to page 18 real quick just to kind of look at the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This is an income statement for the district's funds. A couple of things to note: $53.2 million in revenues for the year. That's an increase of about $4.3 million from last year, and a lot of that is the COVID funding. Y'all are seeing the ESSER stuff all over the place. That's where a lot of that increase is coming from. Total expenses were about $56.2 million, and that increase about $8.5 million from the prior year, driven largely by construction expenses. I'm going to point your attention to the very back of the report on, let's see, starting on page 78. These are 2 other reports that we issue in conjunction with our audit. The first one is a report on internal control over financial reporting and non-compliance, which is a very long title. And it just basically says that if we find a material weakness or significant deficiency, as we do our audit procedures, we're required to report that, and it would go in this report out here. And if you read through it, there are none listed. You'll identify or no material weaknesses identified. There's a second report on page 80 that is what we call our single audit report. And as part of the financial statement audit, we do a single audit. Single audit is required under the Single Audit Act, and anytime a district or another government or another entity really receives over $750,000 in federal funds, they're required to have a separate audit over their major federal programs. And so this year we tested ESSER because of the amount of money that was received and hadn't been tested in the past, and that went very smoothly. There were no issues, no findings in that single audit. And at the bottom of page 80, you can see the opinion on the major federal program, which says basically we believe that Wylie ISD complied with all requirements and all directed material requirements under the grant. So that's an unmodified or clean opinion on compliance, and it goes hand in hand with your audit report, but is notable, especially with the new program, to not have any findings in the first year that you're running it. So kudos again to the team, and that's really all I have as far as the presentation. Do you have any questions?
I'm going to say this last few years, they've started coming out during the summer to do an initial visit and look through things, and then they come back in September, about the third week in September generally, and they always bring a crew of 4 or 5, sometimes 6 people. But Joey has been on some form or fashion on the team for probably about 6 or so.
6 years, y'all are my longest running client.
Wow. And immediately I took a liking to him because, anybody named Joey. But anyway, they are good to work with. I know times have changed also. We've talked earlier, Cody was mentioning the COVID era. A lot of things have been done via email, and so anyway, we appreciate the work y'all do, and y'all are easy to work with as well, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Great job, Carol.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We got to have a motion to approve.
Has a motion? Andy Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going to move Ms. Vaughn up. Can you give us a report?
Let me make a comment. Ms. Vaughn is going to report on our results-driven accountability system, which is Special Population Accountability System. And she has been down all day. Her back is bothering her, so we figured we'd better try to move her up and get her while we can. And so, thank you, Shawnee, for being here, because if I'd had to step in for you, it would have been a much less impressive report. So, thank you, Ms. Vaughn, for being here. And yeah, that's on page 48 in your, if you have a report.
And we're going to let the good news continue. We have another celebration. This is the final results on this report are that we got the best scores available. I was thinking before I came up here, when I got an assignment back in school, what was the first thing I looked at? I looked at my grade. I didn't really care what I got wrong, what I got right, what score did I get. So that's what I thought you might want to know first. We got the best score there is. So I could stop there, but I won't talk very long. So I am looking at, I did send you about 3 different documents. I am referring to this multicolored one. I think that's the one you're on. This They collect this on three, what they call program areas, and you can see those listed on the front. Those three are bilingual education, English as a second language, and English learner. That's one program area. Other special populations does not say there, but that includes students who are in foster care, students who are identified as homeless, and students who are military connected. Those are the ones in that category. And then that last category listed is your special education. So if you'll start flipping through there, you can see it's nice and color coordinated. I like that, the way TEA does that. You can see the different, what they call indicators. So you've got for example, number 1, BE, that's bilingual education, star, 3 through 8 passing rate. So that is an indicator, all right? So each of those are called indicators. In each of those indicators, if you'll slide your vision over and look at performance level, they take all of the data for each indicator and they come up with a performance level. Now, some of these indicators are report only. That's determined by TEA. So that's why on some of those performance level it says report only. But you can see in that first program area, which is kind of the blue-gray color, I guess you'd call it, on page 2 of that report, where there are some scores in the performance level, the score is a 0. Well, Mr. Hagler and I talked about this several times today, and he said, okay, the lady at Region 14 told me it's like playing golf. The lower the better. I said, I agree. So a 0 is a perfect score. So when they analyze the data for those particular indicators, for example, indicator number 5 or 6, where you see those zeros, that's the best score you can get. Okay? So if you flip the page again.
Let me make a comment too. A lot of these reports, you're going to see asterisks instead of numbers, and that just means we have too low a number.
Correct.
That doesn't mean we don't have it, it just means the number is low, and so whenever that happens, TEA always masks those.
Right.
We actually will get to see those individuals, but that's how they have their reports. So.
Correct. So on page 3 and 4, 3 you see 2 more performance levels of 0 and then a report only. So in that first program area, all performance levels were 0s. That's a perfect score. That's awesome. The next program area is that other special populations. Again, that's foster care, homeless, and military connected. And you can look down through that at those different indicators and see that those performance levels, all where they are reported, again, those are all 0s. Flip to page 7, flip to page 8, again, all 0s. So perfect in that program area. In special education, it is interesting. In special education, there are 20, on these other 2, I think one of them was 11 and one was 13, performance level areas or opportunities to show how you can do. In special ed, we have 24 opportunities to see how good we can do. So on page 9, if you look at our performance levels, most of them are 0s. We have a few 1s in there, which is okay. That's still good. Some areas we would, so let me say also, performance level here is 0, 1, 2, 3, or some indicators you can get a 4. Okay? We got no 4s, so 4 is bad. We got no 4s. We got 1, 3, that was in special ed students, grades 3 through 8, who took the STAR test, their passing rate. You can see that in writing, we got a performance level of 3. So that is an area that we need to target and work on. But also, we talked about today, it's interesting, writing, beginning this year, is no longer a standalone STAR test. It will be incorporated, I'm looking at my principals to help me with this, it will be incorporated into the different content areas of STAR. So instead of a writing teacher trying to fix that, it's going to be spread among all the teachers trying to work on that. And again, a 3 is not, it's not terrible, it just tells notice that's an area to work on. A 2 in reading, and then if you look at the bottom of the page, a 2 in Algebra 1, English 1, and English 2. And if you want to know where we land on those, the first column beside the name of the test, it has the cut points. So for example, if you go back up to the top of the page on reading, 70 to 100 would have been a 0. Our rate was a 49.4. So we're a little low there. But again, those are some areas to work on. We all know that there's always some ways we can be better. And I know that our principals will be doing that with our campuses. On the Star Alt 2, which is all of page 10, that is report only. And you can see some of the numbers are there. And then if you flip to page 11 and page 12, again, all zeros in performance level or report only. And again to page 13 and 14. There is one that I wanted to point out that we need to be very proud of, which is, if you look, back on page 12, at indicator 10 and 11, when that says SPED regular class, students in special education sometimes need a different placement other than general education, which is what we would call it. But this is referring to that. Sometimes our kiddos need more help, a lot of help. But our campuses do a really good job of trying to keep them in the general education classroom with their peers and providing extra support to them through instructional aids or content mastery and helping them to be on that same grade level with their classmates. So those are good scores there. When I noticed that earlier, I was really proud of that for our campuses, especially, and our art committees. So our score is on the last page, page 15. The first table that you see summarizes the performance levels. TEA takes that and they throw it in some statistical formulas and they come up with what's called a determination level. So remember, we had program areas, in that we had indicators, in that our scores are performance levels, and they take those performance levels and make a determination level. So at the very bottom, you can see the bilingual education, ESL, EL, the DL1, that's a determination level of 1. 1 is the best score. On the other special populations, a DL1, that's the best score. That's the score you want to see when you open the TEA website for the first time and you go, what did we get? You want to see a 1. And when you see 3 1s, you're especially excited. The one I want to talk about for just a second then is the special ed, the DL1. For the DL1, not only do they look at all of the data that you just looked through, but they also look at the table that's in the middle of that page, which is the federally required elements. There are other things, because we get federal funding, there are other requirements for special education that we have to follow. And the 4 listed there are state performance plan, SPP compliance indicators. That includes things like when we get a referral for special education to do testing, we have to make sure that we meet our deadlines to be in compliance. That's for little children and all ages. It's 2 different reports. But we have to make sure that we meet all of our deadlines to be in compliance on that. Also on our high school students, we have to make sure that we address in their ARD meetings plans for transitioning them from school to life after high school. And we have to note that in their IEP and turn in a report on that. So I'm happy to say, again, performance level of 0 is the best score. So on that one, we got a 0. On valid, reliable, and timely data, we got a 0. Status of uncorrected non-compliance, so if you are non-compliant in any area, which could also mean if you've had a due process filed against you or a complaint sent to TDA, if you've corrected that, made a corrective action plan, then, as long as you get that done in a timely manner, you can earn 0 or a 0 on that. And then our financial audits. Interesting that these two are on the same night. They take that into account, our financial audits of our special ed money. So for special ed, again, not only do they take all the student data, but they take all of this staff data where we have to be in compliance for everything, and they calculate that in, and we were still a DL1. So I am very, very, very proud tonight to be a Wylie Bulldog, and I want to say thank you to each one of the principals and our administration for supporting our students and my staff, because this is a good report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Ms. Miller. Great job.
Mr. Bessett, so you'll talk to us about school buses?
Before he gets into it, I wanted to lead with, just real quickly, you know, every year we order new buses, put a lot of miles on our buses, and each year we increase ridership, so we're always having to try to stay ahead of the curve with our bus purchases. Generally, we do that in March. This year, we've moved it up to December because Mr. Bessett's heard that the lead time on those is 8 months or.
So we generally take delivery on our vehicles after September 1 in the next budget year. And so our representatives, our bus representatives, we just talked to them last week, and you know, they're estimating to get any time in September that an order would have to go in fairly soon, in the next 20 to 30 days. And they're still not guaranteeing that, but, you know, because there's a lot of bus parts floating around out in the ocean right now on cargo ships. So it's kind of anybody's guess, but that's, you know, the only ones they know they're getting are the ones that are coming out of the factory right now. And that's the ones they know. And so that's been the suggestion. So we bumped it up to try to, you know, do the same process that we would normally do in February. Maybe we have to have a little more vision to see, you know, what our enrollment's going to be, or if we're adding more routes. But we think we're pretty safe with that. So I've sent you on our route buses just some bid price on a gasoline 71 passenger type C, which is what we purchased last year. This is the price on 2 of those together. Goes through buy board, and it's a standard air conditioned bus with seat belts, etc. That we purchased for several years, but this is the gasoline. You know, last year it was an updated transmission. This also has a 100-gallon fuel tank, and so with the new transmission, a little bit different engine, we actually gained some horsepower, and we are able to use these buses to travel with if necessary. They're able to stay up on the highway pretty good now. So that was kind of an issue at one time. Our diesels could kind of leave them. You're going up Ranger Hill, loaded down with kids, but that gap's kind of closed now with the new engine and transmission. So, but we're having a lot less maintenance issues on a route service with a gasoline bus for the most part. And Mr. Lye can tell you it's been a good move for us right now.
If some of you have been on the board several years, remember we used to have injectors. We had injectors repaired. All the fuel injectors were the common item, and we just don't have that much anymore. I'm not saying we don't have any, but
so when you run, you know, we run about 60 routes in the afternoon, 20, 40, counting your special ed. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we do have backup buses. So the question is, what do you do with the buses? Do we have older buses? Well, as you know, we've had 1993 model buses still in our group in there. Right now, we're operating on all air-conditioned buses. Once you start air-conditioned buses, everybody needs an air conditioner, you know, especially in August and early or late spring. So we're able to do that. And with the more buses you have, there's more times they have to be fixed. And a lot of times, just like anything else, we take them down there and they sit a little while. So we have a number of backup buses, about 8 right now, that they're in our fleet, it seems like, more often than not. There occasionally, we do have some days where we have so many activities going on extracurricular that we have to pull some of our brand new buses and maybe send them with a junior high, et cetera. So we want our newest buses on the road when they have to travel. And so we sometimes have to pull in backup buses. So we do have some of those, you'll see them parked there also. But, so we have 2 for you today. They've gone up about 14%. This is good for about, I think, 30 days. It's 7.25 or something, not much more outside. They do expect quite a few increases between now and about May when people are buying buses. Of course, you know the price of steel, copper, any computer parts, etc. This does come with our camera system, our radios are installed, have backup cameras in them now. So it's a standard bus, but that's kind of what comes with it. It's got a pressure-proof roof, safety glass, etc. Heavy-duty steel.
Is it 2 normal and 1 activity? Is that what?
Okay,
So he talked about the yellow dog.
The yellow, type C's are 122,000 and change. So that's about a 14% per bus from over our last time we purchased those. Mr. Light asked me to look and get a bid on another snub-nose travel bus like our big purple buses. Those are type D buses. And of course, those come with, an upgraded air conditioner, a little bit different ride, a little bit better high back seats, etc. And those have come up too. If you've been on the board for some time, we haven't always bought new ones. We have bought some lease purchased buses that came back in that has some mileage on them. Right now, we don't have any available. Everybody's hanging on to them. They don't know if they can get another bus or afford one. And so the last time we bought a new one, there were about 169,000 this bus was, not that many years ago. And as you can see, this purchase price will total out the door is about 215,000. Same bus. We haven't really changed, they've upgraded and fixed them, and you can think about $15,000 or $16,000 worth of emission that we didn't have on the last time we bought a bus. Thank you, California. And there'll be another one next year. It's about a $5,000 sensor. So, that's where it comes through, and it's just an add-on, because it's really not a choice. You have to put that on your diesel buses. So that's what we have, and that's, something we look at. So the question we talk about is, do we always use all our purple buses? And we do at certain times of the year, especially during football season, especially when we're playing volleyball. We have a big, Bells team. We have cheerleaders. The football team takes 3. So we have 4 now that we take. And a lot of times we're, sending our volleyball teams taking a yellow bus, or, we have 30 plus in our Bells that are having to take a yellow. We'd like to be able to put them in there in a purple bus, especially on some of those other trips. And then that's not counting if you have one that's in the shop.
So a couple of things. The activity buses should go posted speed limit, and that's a different, now than if they're brand new buses, they also have that sticker that gives you a little higher ability to travel at a little higher speed. The issue about speed is when you're making these trips to Lubbock and Plainview and some of those, that extra time is pretty important. It could make a difference in getting it in 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So I can tell you that the people riding those buses do appreciate the ability to go instead of a 50,
and there's a different seat.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot
comfortable seat.
Different comfort. We have a much better air conditioner when it's hot.
That's right.
And that makes a big difference, especially in August and September. But it's just comfort's better. There's more storage for your gear, and everything's not piled up under your feet. We have storage underneath.
How old is our newest one?
The newest.
Well, the last one we bought was a lease purchase, so.
Is it about 17? It was
16 or 17, I believe, was the last one. Yeah, maybe 17, I believe you're right. So the last one. So You know, we're not using them every day, but we use them every week, so, they go out, so.
Yeah, so obviously that's, that's a big expenditure.
It's amazing.
There are levels of activity buses, and I would say, most other options are quite a bit more expensive. There's a new one they're coming out with that is, you'll see them, they've got a little higher profile. They aren't snub-nosed.
It looks like a Type C, but it's kind of a Mercedes-Benz Type
Yeah.
C, they're about 250,000. Yeah.
250.
Yeah.
I did get that report this summer from some that were buying it out in West Texas. Then the next level up is more of what they term an MCI or a
And like
van.
a touring bus or
Yeah,
a charter bus.
And those really get a lot more expensive. And the big issue with those is care. It takes a different level of mechanic to work on those and what works on our buses and these.
And we can, we've always started from the beginning, something that we wanted to be able to put, not just one team gets this bus and, if you gotta take three and only one who's gonna get in that bus? Or we tried to have it the same when we could, made it a little bit easier. And, I think those purple buses are a step up in travel for a high school team. I mean, they're nice and they take care of them. And right now, they move up and down the road pretty good.
And so, as we look at these, I would say they're gonna continue. We don't necessarily see anything getting cheaper, and we're not hearing anything on the positive end of that on these buses. And we, as Mr. Bessett said, we have basically gone into some of these ones that were leased. We have gotten some of those. Those were in good shape, but they're not out there. We normally spend about $350,000 a year on vehicle purchases, which
That's
includes
been
these.
our total purchase for a long time.
So-
We haven't just maxed that out, but that was what was allocated in our budget.
And, in some of that, we would occasionally pick up a handicap bus that we came
Used
across that was
bus,
a good deal. This would push us up around $450,000
So
mark.
it's a different deal.
But I don't know, for sure, I don't think we can avoid purchasing the yellow dogs. And we are just putting a lot of miles on these. We kind of need to continue to upgrade the fleet that's going out a long way. The bad thing about any of the activity buses, which Mr. Bessett can tell you that I always ask these kinds of questions, at the end of life, is there anything we can do as far as moving that into like a regular route? And we know you gotta have the yellow school bus to do a route. But there's a whole lot of other things. When you got the wrong kinds of seats and there's a lot of issues so these buses don't just fold right back into a route.
We're still using the transit buses that we originally bought years ago. Our junior high, that's when we take, like our golf teams in town. We can do a lot of close travel, under 55 miles, something like that, and still get there and have a little bit higher level of comfort than maybe just a route bus. So we're able to do that, kind of pick and choose. And I think as we grow, have more teams, that would be what you would hope, that you have more teams going out. They would all get to enjoy that type of travel.
So these are 3 activity buses, essentially?
We got
Four.
There are 44 passengers.
We have
That's what they can
4
take care
of the large activity buses. This will add, and then we've got 22 passenger. We've got smaller buses that
Smaller
range.
buses. Yeah, we
Several
have
that are
44.
14.
We bought right after Mr. Light and I came over here, and it's down towards the end of his career.
So how old is the oldest activity bus?
You're talking about
The ones we're still
purple dogs.
using on the
Yeah, like how,
road.
I mean, the newest is, I guess, 5 years old, how old is it?
I think they're 8 years old, isn't that right? Seven,
I would
8.
say
I think it's
that. I'd
8
have to
years,
go back.
2014 when we first, because we bought 3 transit buses that were used buses and painted a purple and used some snub nose to begin with, and hauled them.
And that was around 2008.
Yeah, that was our first go at it. We kind of fixed them, added some inside storage. We didn't have the upgraded air conditioner, so we took them and had some air put on them at Rome, Texas, and tried to upgrade them there. We used those first 3 or 4 years, and then we started
Those are
adding
the
slowly but surely Bluebird.
Yeah.
We can keep those in.
That's one, you'll see they're a little bit faded, that's the ones we usually kind of run.
So we, again, we would, the activity bus is the one that's a little harder to swallow, but I really feel like in the long term, it's just a direction we need to go to keep our long trips.
You can't find used ones at all.
There's nothing out there.
It's like regular vehicles.
That's right now. So,
I feel like with the amount of travel, and I don't think it's gonna change with the new district, where at least gonna be,
yeah,
I mean, maybe one more team close, but
right.
then the travel will continue.
As we
Yeah.
grow, you know, we're gonna need more buses and better buses, and the only thing I would think, can we go ahead and, it's an extra 100,000 we're spending over what we normally budget for, right?
Yes, sir.
Should we go ahead and put that in the budget for next year, to go ahead
But
and?
this is a next year budget purchase.
Is it? Okay.
Yes,
Can we
I'm sorry, yes.
keep that number, go ahead and put it higher?
That's up to y'all to do when you start building your budget, but
But the
this
cost
is
of vehicles-
September 1, you know, this is just to get an order, get us in line to get one.
But you're saying for like future,
For
keep it.
future, so we
where
can,
it's-
so we can keep it at that level, going forward. Things are getting more expensive, inflation and all that, so, I don't think that's gonna, I don't think buses are gonna go down, our need for buses are gonna go down at all, so.
Something that's not accounted for there are other vehicle purchases too. In the past, we have purchased, whether it's Suburbans or Impalas or something, staff goes a lot as well. I'm not exactly sure where we're gonna fall this year. I was asking Mr. Bessett.
I said, you might not get one if you wanted one anyway, right? So, that's really, I mean, we gotta think buses first and then we'll.
You know, we took delivery on 2 yellow buses this year. So we didn't expend all of our vehicle dollars so far, but we're not real sure we could get one if we wanted.
We were hoping for a used, a buy, you know, like a handicap bus or something that a school district just didn't need, and sometimes they get rid of them. You just gotta be in the right place, but so far that hasn't happened, so.
So you're saying we have a little money?
We've got a little money left in this year
This year's
for
budget.
vehicle purchases.
You know how much?
Yeah, well,
I'd have to
well,
look.
we budgeted 350,000, we spent 218,000, I believe.
I think it was close to 2 million.
Purchase, so it should be about 100 something.
Thank you for saying.
All right. So,
So do you want a number with this, or just to prove that he?
Prove
I
they
think
get
we would approve
an order.
two of the yellow buses and 1 activity bus.
Okay. So I move that we approve, the purchase of 2 yellow school buses and 1 activity bus for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
that the deal? All right, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Good job, Mr. Bessett and Mr. Light, getting ahead of this, you know, because this was, I could tell this was gonna be a problem with the delivery and all that, so good job.
All right, so you were mentioning about lights that take 20 minutes to turn on and then turn off after 20 minutes too, right?
Well, we're gonna have a hand crank over there on the side. Mr. Best will be working that. No, we have been searching for some lighting vendors who could meet meet what we've asked with the softball, baseball, and tennis facilities. I've listed for you the 3 that we got quotes from. All those are through purchasing co-ops, such as Buy Board. The reason, and Buy Board allows you to do it with quotes versus a bidding process. You'll notice the prices. I also included the warranties out there because I thought that was a major consideration. In addition to that, all those are LED lights. I don't know that you can even buy the others anymore, to be honest. They don't, anyway, they're all LEDs. The interesting thing about Qualight's the only one that sells what they call a bar light, and it's a bar of lighting. With it, I have seen, of course, they're all competing for the same opportunity. What they call spillage, I believe, or light spillage, overlighting it's more, seems to be more difficult to control in that, some of the pictures I've seen of if you were going down the highway and somebody's got their bright lights on, sometimes that's the effect. There's plenty of light. I've talked to a lot of different references on all these, and there's not a question about any of these folks to be able to light the fields. To me, there are some different areas of quality, or I think value for the district that we want to look at. TechLine, of course, is a 10-year warranty. Musco had one feature that I thought was interesting in that, if you've got your baseball lights and they're up however many feet they are, and you have a fly ball that goes above those, they have no lighting on them above that. They have something, it's an uplighting basically, and they call it their tracker system. It doesn't track the ball or anything, but it's uplighting. So you have light on the bottom part, under the ball as it goes up, which I thought was an interesting feature. When it came down to evaluating trying to compare apples to apples, which is not easy to do, they have a lot of different things that they tout as a benefit. I really feel like the Musco lighting, even though that comes with a little bit higher price, the 25-year warranty that they have, and the number of customers they have in this part of the state, and the references I've received were very, very high on Musco. Some of the bars, the light bars, I'm not saying they're brand new, but they're a fairly new product. And I think when you're looking at 25 years, there's a little bit of question there. I'm not saying, I can't see in a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball, so, but I think when you look at a 25-year commitment, and that's everything. That's bulbs, that's the labor, that's everything.
Was it Musco you said would come out and change the bulb as soon as it went
That's
out?
right. And that's what their
That's what they're
references, that's what their references are saying too.
Yeah, so you checked into that to see that it didn't
Yes.
take them 3 months, they did that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. They're very responsive. So in this, y'all know how I'm averse to spending more money, but in this situation, I would say that when all things are put on the table, that I would recommend Musco Light. And I'm
What's
open
the
to
time
questions.
frame?
Well, now.
We'll start next week, right?
They did say, I think all of them will start moving as quickly as they can. A lot of it has to do with getting equipment on site. But I do believe that the actual we'd be able to get it here near the beginning of February. So it's right to be in the baseball, softball timeframe. So.
Well, I'd want the 25-year one. For sure.
Yeah. It just seems to me to be the right thing. You know, I don't think any of us will be around in that, but I think the folks would be appreciative that that decision was made. And one of the things I want to do, because I'm one of those guys that doesn't always remember about warranties, I want to be sure it's prominently displayed that through this date, you call this number to have these things taken care of.
So what does it look like, and maybe they didn't share this with you, because it looks like it's gonna overlap, their work is gonna overlap. The season's gonna have already started. How does that look?
Just barely. I mean, baseball, as far as them working in that, I don't think, I think they'll be close enough finished that there will not be any.
And do they have enough manpower to do both at one time?
Do all three, yes. Now, they did say, I asked about that, and they said that they would actually, because of the season timings, they would, the priority would be the softball and baseball, get those finished first, and then go to the tennis. But that's what they said. So, you know, that would be coming out of fund balance. That we don't have that in the budget, but again, I think for a lot of reasons, as we've talked about in workshops and in other discussions, that there's a time and place for everything, and I think the timing is right. I'll also say that, you know, I talked to some of them about, I don't know if this will happen in the near future, but if we needed to add more tennis courts, which possibly at some time in the future, not that we have a lot of room to do that, but if we ever did that, it would be easy to use the poles the poles that would be in place on the north side, for example, and then add more around the other, and not have to re-pole all that, so.
Well, I like Musco. I think, sounds like you've got a good report from them, and I'm glad you looked into what other people's experience has been with that. I thought the baseball lights were interesting. They shine from up, they shine over, and then they shine from up. That's interesting.
And those, when you see those, I don't even know that I've seen pictures of them. They're just little lights about a third of the way up the pole. Have you seen them, Brad? I haven't.
No, I've never seen them.
I mean, but they don't, I mean, it's not like the full array that you've got. It's just some other lights on the poles that
Push it over the fence.
that sword cuts both ways, you know. We might want to turn them off and lock.
You guys have any other questions about the lights? I think this is good. I think it's a good reward for successful programs that we have. I think it's great. So, what do you guys want to do?
I move, we approve the lighting at the high school tennis courts, baseball field, and softball field, and go with Musco lighting.
Second.
Motion and second. Everybody? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, so we need to have a public.
Thank you.
We need to have a public hearing on ESSER funds.
Okay, as Joey mentioned, there's a lot of moving parts on this new funding mechanisms that are in place basically because of COVID. One of those is that we continually update the spending plan and the continuity of services plan. You know, as I shared with y'all, as we went through this process originally, the majority of our ESSER funds went to pay for teacher salaries in the 2021 school year, continue to get some monies, and Carol's working through that as we get that funding in. So that's one area that we would be open for public input. And the continuity of services plan, just to kind of keep you up to date on that, the plan that we have had in place, we continue to have testing for COVID at all campuses, and we are continuing the cleaning protocols. Mr. Messett, anything else as far as?
I mean, it's the same protocol we started at the beginning of the year, and of course our numbers have continued. Last week was our best week, 6 new cases is all we had last week, about 9 the week before, so our numbers surprisingly have continued to drop. 7 last week, so we had 2 staff and 5 students, so, and of course with that, you know, I mean, we still have sick kids, but it's other things, strep and flu right now, so as you know, some of y'all can take them to the doctor, but we're testing them anyway, and we're finding out it's not COVID for you, so still continuing that protocol.
And so, if we can get input if there's any public.
Yeah, is there anybody here, this is a public hearing, is there any public input about the ESSER 3 funds and the continuity service plan? And everybody looks good. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Principal's report.
It's, I think we've got banana pudding too, by the way.
So my number here in December is 939, under 10. I always share some fun things that we've done. We did a teacher trick or treat cart where we pushed the cart down the hall and had a bunch of treats and things on it, and they got to pick. Sort of like, you know, on an airplane, you get to order. Not all of those beverages that are available on the airplane were available on the trick or treat cart. We've been going a lot of places, dressing up, and second grade went to Suzical at the PAC, and that was so much fun. I had a great time. We had the Wylie High School steel drums come and perform at lunch because it's not loud enough in here. Our UIL was a great success. The kids have so much fun doing that and preparing. The teachers did a great job preparing them for that. Teacher bingo is going on right now where we call out bingo numbers or they're emailed out, and then everybody's playing bingo. So they're prizes that are donated by parents or the community, and so they just they go in and they pick a number once they bingo and get a sack that's got prizes in it. Today somebody won $50 cash, so that was fun. I think Miller.
Can I get a card while we're at? No.
Miller, you had some questions about the rooms. I think what we're going to do with the empty rooms will be 9 empty rooms. I have 3 special ed teachers that are sharing the classroom right now, so 2 of those rooms will be taken by them. Speech goes on all day on my campus, and so she uses a room, and then OT and PT share a room with her, so that'll take a room. We're looking at some grants and some funding on the side for a sensory room. It's something that really does help our kids that overstimulated or understimulated, and so it's a room where they can go in. There's lots of different textiles to put in there. I said we have to have a punching bag. There's no question. So, you know, and swings and some things that are safe for them to be able to go in and quiet music plays. And sometimes we have a group that gathers in the mornings to kind of calm them down before they go to the classroom, because the whole gym and cafeteria thing is way overstimulating, and they can't handle it. One other change other than the empty rooms, our afternoon buses will run a little bit later than they have been. We did make it, Mr. Wesson made accommodations for the bus routes because they'll leave my campus and go to Mr. Bacon's campus and then go on the route. So it will push them out just a little bit. But we've been very adamant about communicating that to parents and letting parents know to expect them just a little bit later. So, does anybody have any questions?
I know you've answered this before, but how many kids are moving from your campuses?
About 180.
Yeah, 180.
Mr. Bacon would know that. Mr. Bacon, you
I
said
know,
it
I know
was
what
He's
you said.
testing.
179.
it's a
Says
170.
179 on here.
Does it?
Did I miss it?
Yeah, right there.
That's just a fourth grade movie, doesn't it?
Yeah, it hasn't changed. So, yeah, 179.
Just saying, 179.
It's a tough crowd.
I know, right?
Hey guys, I'm Casey Todd, I'm the assistant principal at Wylie Elementary. So Kim mentioned a few things that we also do on our campus in November. Two of the things that I wanted to point out to you guys is we had our first and second grade make some new cakes. And we had parents in the building all over the cafeteria. It was awesome. The parents loved it. It was chaos and it was awesome chaos. So that was really great. We also collected socks for Mission Thanksgiving. We usually do something like that for the mission, care missions. We had the UIL meet. We have this week, that was last week, UIL was. This week we have the Polar Express maybe for our first graders. And then they're gonna come back to school and we're gonna have some hot chocolate with marshmallows, you know, kind of fun little thing to do this week since we're kind of wrapping stuff up for Christmas. And then we are having, Thursday, Friday, we're gonna have our first grade Christmas get together, crafts and treats. The parents are also invited for that. And they're pumped once again because, you know, it's been a few, year or two since they've been in the classroom. I mean, in the school building. And then second grade Christmas party is gonna be gingerbread houses. And that's also awesome chaos. That's very awesome. I'm sorry, I didn't mention enrollment. First grade is 217 and second grade is 208.
And she mentioned about the Polar Express at the PAC. The PAC is really being used a lot. I don't know, Mr. Smith.
Every day.
It's hard. It's amazing. The PAC is packed. Nearly every day you drive by and I look over there, there's something going on today and I just don't know what. But it's, you know, our goal was for it to be used and it is being used. So it's been a good thing. So thank you, Ms. Todd.
I was gonna say something, and this is interesting, and it was Ryland's teacher who pointed out to me that it's really cool to see all the parents and kids doing it again, because Ryland, he was in kindergarten when COVID hit, and they hadn't done anything. Like, he didn't, you know, like, he didn't realize, I mean, he's never done a program. That they were at kindergarten at the time, so he'd never done a school program, you know, so it's really cool. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, so it's really cool that, like, parents are back on the
It is.
By the way, Miss Bessa? No. I'm not telling where Miss Bessa is.
Oh, yes. So Shan had, Mr. Besson could probably tell that, she had some knee surgery. So Mrs. Besson is out taking care of her. So that's where she is. I also wanted to mention one more thing that I'm not sure if it was mentioned last month, I'm sure it was. We had an amazing music teacher on our campus. She's wonderful. And she did this program for Veterans Day. And it was sent out, it wasn't, we didn't have anybody come in, but it was virtual kind of thing, you know, you could tune in, whatever. And specifically my parents are very patriotic, and I know they sent a letter to Mr. Lott and to Mrs. Besson, just thanking our school district for, you know, being patriots. So it was a great performance. Second graders, and they did a fabulous job, and they really enjoyed
number, so it ought to be close to that after New Year. We just finished a Toys for Tots collection. We were a holding place for Toys for Tots for the last 2 weeks. We also just finished a book fair, and it was a very successful book fair. We had lots of parents come in and come after school and bring their kids, came during the day, and so it was very successful compared to last year where we had it online. And then our kindergarten and pre-K, both of them went last week on Thursday and Friday over to the PAC, watched a holiday movie, so that was fun. And then this week they're having book exchange holiday parties. And mid-January we're going to do our middle of the year pre-K and kindergarten testing with CLI Engage and M-Class. And our teachers have been working on getting their in-person parent-teacher conferences done the last 2 months, and so they have those done. And then just, informing the parents how the kids are doing at this point. And then we have 37 kindergartners who are going to test for GT in January. So there are other things, but those are the top. Any questions?
Ms. Salmon, on the mid-year testing, those are required testings that do?
There's 3 times a year. The state of Texas requires us to test for beginning, middle, and end. And we use instruments that are actually free, provided by the state of Texas. That's not always been the case. And so we test, there's windows that we have to go with. And so the middle of the year is in January. We'll test again end of the year. And they moved the end of the year to latter April. We usually did it latter March, beginning of April. And so it's a screening, basically, what it is. The end of the year, M-Class, which is for kindergarten, the new screening from the legislation, it screens for dyslexia. And now we have a responsibility to test kids who show certain characteristics of that. So we'll give you more information towards the end of the year on that. Okay? Any questions?
Thank you. All right, we'll finish up real quick. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come up and speak with you. You can see our report right there. Just want to add a few things. First of all, I'm so proud of our team. Our teachers and our aides, they're coming in every day. They're working their tail off, and it's just things are getting better each day. I just appreciate what they do. And I haven't seen you talk to you guys in a couple of months. Thank you on behalf of our staff for the raise that you did. I really appreciate our teachers, our staff appreciate that. It's good timing right now, so thank you very much. Just a few other quick things. Some of the same things with Toys for Tots. It's amazing what our kids do, just bringing in stuff. We've got a box that Marines came and took the one box, but it's just amazing. So we're so blessed in this community. A few other things. Another thing, we have something that's not on the agenda. Our new counselor, her husband's in the military, the Air Force. She's doing a great job for us, and she's doing Operation Cookie Drop. And that's going to go to the airmen. And we've had several teachers and other community members volunteer for that. She's picking up cookies on the 16th, so if you're interested in that, contact Mrs. Coltrane. But we have a lot of people that are doing that, so just another sweet thing that our staff is doing. So we just can't say enough about those kind of things that we do. Another thing that's kind of cool that I didn't put on the agenda, we had a little U9 team, and I think it's East and West team, a little football team that went to the state championship game this past weekend and coached by one of our ex-Wylie students, and they won the state championship. So it's pretty cool for that group to go out and do that. Just some extracurricular stuff. Very, very, very cool.
Of course.
They had the rings on today.
Yeah, I did.
Very, very excited. They're so proud of that, and we just can't say. It's just neat to watch our kiddos just do great things. You can see some of the other things. do have benchmarks coming up in January. I want to brag on our UIL. First of all, the junior high, Mr. Amonette's not here. They put on a heck of a meet.
I think he is here.
Where is he? Hey, here you are. Put on a heck of a meet, and say thank you very much for all your staff. I want to say our fourth graders won every event but one, so when we send them to you next year, don't mess it up. Just want to throw that out there to you. But I'm very proud of our teachers and our kiddos for working hard. We'll try to get those third graders better for fourth grade and give them next to you in a couple of years, Mr. Amonette. But there's just a few things that are going on. Proud of our staff. Any questions for us? Thank you all so much.
Good job.
Thank all of you very much.
That 92, I think Mayor was out there.
They go all out, I think. Next thing, folks, we have evaluations coming up for Mr. Light. So that's your packet right there. I think Steve likes to have those by the first of the year, so get those done. You can see that it's addressed to him. You just send them to him, mail them to him, and be very tough on Mr. Light and make sure you get those done.
Too easy.
Be soft. Board planning workshop.
Yes, sir. Each year we have a board planning workshop between our February and our March board meeting. And just want y'all to look at that and kind of put that on your radar. Haven't got a specific date yet, but we'll bring those to you. We generally do those on a Tuesday or a Thursday. It's a good opportunity to just have some conversations about the future of Wylie ISD. So get that, maybe get some juices flowing, and if you think of something you want added to that agenda, be sure to let me know.
All right. How about COVID update?
Well, we kind of talked about that just a minute ago in that we were sharing some information about our continuity plan. I will say that as of today, we had eight students and one staff member. That was this morning. I didn't check this afternoon, so I'm not sure if it changed. We know that COVID is, there's new variants out there. There's going to be ups and downs with this. But I'm really proud of the way that the staff has addressed it as far as the cleaning protocols and working with kids. One of the hardest things to do is call somebody and say, hey, you're going to have to keep your kiddo home for 10 days or something like that. And thankfully, that has not been the call that we've had to make as much recently, but that's a call that the staff has been burdened with over the last couple of years. So right now, we've got nothing but good news, and that always prepared for other situations, and we'll deal with those when they come. Do y'all have any questions about anything that's going on with COVID? I think we're just very reflective of the community right now. I think it is, I hadn't actually read the newspaper report recently, but I think they're also doing that. So,
And thank you all. Not trying to run you out, but you gotta go. Thank you for being here.